Pac-10 Sports Talk. We're in Week 11 of the NCAA football season. Sitting with me, I have Joel, Jeremy, and Jack, and I'm Donovan. We're going to start off with the first game. Washington's big loss over to Oregon. Joel, your take on the game.
Well, I mean, we all predicted a lopsided victory for Oregon, but for Oregon, this was definitely a tale of two halves. In the first half, they had a tough time scoring points, as well as some penalties. And these penalties were pretty costly. You know, they ended up being penalties where it prolonged some Washington drives, as well as stalled some of Oregon's drives into the field position. And thank goodness for Oregon, this was a team that really was outmanned in this competition, and they weren't able to capitalize on some of these errors and some of these penalties. But you got to give Oregon credit. They did curtail some of these penalties, and the offense was clicking in the second half, and it was kind of the team we expected to see in the second half. And you know, whenever Darren Thomas and LaMichael James and Jeffrey Mills start clicking on all cylinders, there's going to be a rout ensuing, and that's what happened. And for Washington, just to kind of highlight a positive for them is their freshman quarterback Keith Price, who came into a hostile environment on his first start. And did quite well. Made some plays with his arms and his legs, and
kid's elusive.
It's a bright spot for them.
Well, I would agree. I think one of the key outside of the penalties is Washington 2 for 16 on third downs.
Can't win many games.
You're not going to win many games on that. Quite honestly, it could have been a lot worse for the Huskies. For all those penalties. I think other opponents on Oregon's schedule should take notice. Oregon likes to get a playoff 10-15 seconds. Maybe they take an NBA-style hack-a-shack philosophy, maybe take a penalty here. They're not advocating that they go in roughhouse, but just to slow that Oregon offense down a little bit. But good one for the Ducks.
Yeah, if you tuned into the Duck game for the first time you've ever seen the Ducks play, you might be wondering who was masquerading as a Duck offense, because there wasn't any. No points in the first quarter. When does that happen with the Ducks? This is against a Husky team ranked 109th in the nation. But I think later on they got the ball rolling in the second half. I think conditioning kicked in and they won going away. Good note for the Ducks, they got Kenyon Barner back. They've been missing him. He's out since the Washington State game. He's the guy that scored 4 touchdowns in the first half against New Mexico earlier on. So it was good for the Ducks to get him back. He's also big on punt returns. He's a great punt returner. Maybe the best we have on the team, although you can make a case probably for Cliff Harris as well. But it was a big Duck win, and as they all are right now, there's 3 left to get for them, and because of one slip up, and they're out of the national championship picture. So big win.
Okay. Next game we want to talk about is University of California win over Washington State University. That was 20-13. Jeremy, what's your take?
Well, for Cal, you had Manchin filling in for the injured senior Kevin Riley. Not a whole lot to say about this game. You got a Cal team who just has not performed on the road against a Washington State team, one of the worst teams in the FBS as far as defense. So what do you have a recipe for? An upset. However, Washington State came up short. If I were to build a team around a player right now, I might build it around Washington State's punter Reed Forrest, who actually punted one for 82 yards.
Best player on their team right now, arguably.
So we go high in the draft.
Or C.J. Mizell's Washington State's Mike Becker at 12 tackles, but sometimes you got to win ugly, and that's what Cal did.
No, and like you said, win ugly, it's still a win. And for Cal, that's how I think you're going to have to win the rest of your games. They weren't a great offense even with Kevin Riley. Now you take that senior-laden quarterback away, you bring in Brock Manchin. They're not going to win games with offense. They're going to have to win it with defense and special teams and stuff like that. So, but a win's a win, and also for Washington State, I don't know how much longer Coach Wolf can keep losing games. Their attendance was under 18,000 for a Pac-10 game. Are you kidding me? So, anyways, so obviously the fans even in Pullman find this type of loss unacceptable. So.
Yeah. Well, obviously the Cougars are winless on the season, but I think there was a bright spot. I think the Cougar defense lately has been playing very well. But on the other hand, the offense, I don't know what happened. They've kind of fell into a big sinkhole lately. They haven't showed up in the last couple of games. Last week they rushed the ball for 8 yards, had a couple of interceptions. This week they 194 yards. You know, that's just not going to win against Big Sky competition. Although they did have a win against Montana State earlier, I'll give them that one. But you know, for Washington State, they still got some time to pick up a victory this year. They've got the Huskies at home later on, the last game at home, and they've got Oregon State on the road. And Oregon State honestly has not playing that well lately. Regarding Cal, first road win, big win for them. Got over that little mountain they couldn't get over before. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't easy, but it was a win.
Okay, Jack, you said Oregon State's not playing well. They just lost to UCLA, 14-17. Give us your take.
Well, you know, this is a game that the Beavers were supposed to win, especially if they were going to have a meaningful confrontation with Oregon later on down the road at Corvallis. But after allowing a controversial field goal, as we talked about earlier, to win the game, all that talk is going to go away now. That's not going to happen. And I think Oregon State seems like they found life after James Rogers a little bit more difficult. Maybe they missed that fly sweep, because lately that fly sweep is flyless. Nothing's much happening on offense for Oregon State lately. Once they were a shoe-in for a big major bowl game, but now they're going to have to scramble just to get into a bowl picture. And on UCLA, on the other hand, great game for UCLA, nice win. And UCLA has an outshot chance at a bowl game right now too, but it's going to be difficult.
Tell me that wasn't a huge win for UCLA. I mean, not even for the players, but for Rick Neuheisel in particular. I mean, he's definitely on the hot seat, and I feel like he probably needs to go to a bowl game to at least remain another year. But I mean, UCLA is definitely, I don't know if you call it getting into a zone, but they're definitely playing better offensively. Yeah. They're becoming more of a dual threat. Breehouse actually throwing the ball well, and they're actually opening up some running lanes for their running back. So, and also I think they kind of taught us how to defend Oregon State. They, you stack the box against Jaquiz and let Katz beat you. And on this day, he just wasn't good enough to beat you. So, good one for UCLA.
Yep, I agree. Here's a game where you kind of put a tear in the sails of your opponent by coming out of the gate scoring on the first drive, and I agree with Joel, stacking that box, taking Jaquiz out of the game, 63 yards for the day. Forbath for UCLA missed a couple early, so I wonder how, what the outcome of the game would have been had Forbath made those two that he missed. He does come in clutch at the end, kicks a 51-yarder. Kind of another ugly win for UCLA, but nevertheless a win.
It's a win.
Speaking of Forbath, Rick Neuheisel did say, though, you can always bank on three things: death, taxes, and Kai Forbath.
Okay, let's move on to, we're going to move on to Stanford shutout of Arizona, 42-17. Joel, tell me what you think.
I mean, we all predicted a Stanford victory, but I don't think anyone, if they're being honest, predicted this type of a blowout. I've heard some people say, well, this is a little unfair advantage for Stanford that, Nick Foles, who was out for 2 weeks, he really wasn't in his flow and he didn't have his mojo back. But really the reason why Arizona lost is just Stanford's that good. Stanford's a great team. And Arizona is a good offensive team, and Stanford defensively looked good. They're not, I wouldn't call them a great defense, but they definitely are a good defense. And that offense for Stanford is potent right now. Not only do they pass, they've got a plethora of receivers and tight ends, and the nation's best quarterback. But they run the ball well, and in fact, they're running for more yards this year than they did last year with Toby Gerhart. And so, if you're going to play Stanford now with the way that they're on kind of a roll, you better bring your A game, and you better score a lot of points, or they're going to run you out of the stadium.
Yep, I would agree. Luck definitely NFL bound. Here's another game. Stanford comes right out of the gate, scores on their first possession, kind of sets the tone for the game. Probably not what Stoops and company had hoped for. Stanford able to move the ball really well. Again, Luck is one of those guys going to NFL. He's a guy that definitely doesn't get enough credit. He gets credit for throwing the ball, but doesn't get enough credit for moving out of the pocket and rushing the ball. The guy's got 400 yards coming out of the pocket, so not only do you got to defend the pass and Andrew Luck and all the receivers and tight ends, but man, I got to put a spy backer on the guy to get him catching coming out of the pocket. But great win for Stanford and the Cardinal, going up 5-1, possibly playing for a BCS Bowl. You can see how that plays out.
Well, I watched this game expecting a big shootout, big, exciting, down-to-the-wire game, but I was disappointed. I was totally disappointed. Honestly, if this had been a gunfight, Arizona would have taken 5 bullets before they got the gun out of the holster. I mean, it was that they couldn't get the offense in gear, and by the time Owasu took a touchdown pass from Nick Foles to make it 28-10, it was over with. But like Joel said, my conclusion in this game is I have to give Stanford some credit. They're a better team than I thought they were. I knew they were good. I didn't know they were that good. This is a legitimate top 5 team in America, and they can play with anybody. And like Joel says, if you don't bring your best game against Stanford, you're going to get beat.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the nail-biter game this week. It was Arizona State's loss of 1 point to USC, 33-34. Jeremy?
Well, Arizona State had a chance to put this one away with a field goal with a minute 30 left. All I have to say about this game is, what a huge game for special teams. You got an Arizona State guy runs it for 100 yards for a touchdown. You got another Arizona State guy taking a pick 6 to the house. Comes up USC comes up huge. Getting a defensive tackle who blocks I think it was a field goal right off his face.
Extra point
right off the guy's face.
Style.
Using all extremities, for the game of football.
Takes it to the house.
Wow, what a back and forth game. Here's an Arizona State team. Very easily could be 7-2. Close losses to Wisconsin, Oregon State, now Southern Cal. Kind of a tough one, nail biter to win for Arizona State. But SoCal pulled it out. It'd be interesting to see how the fans of Arizona State react to this. As far as Erickson being there, I think it's his 4th or 5th year. Is the guy going to be back next year? I don't know. It remains to be seen.
You mentioned that they were, they could be 7-2, and we've talked about this on this program many times, that Arizona State can play with anyone in the nation. The problem with Arizona State is they're just not consistent. There's, to be a good team, you've got to have all your facets of the game rolling for you, and they always seem to lack in some area. And in this game, what cost them is penalties. Here they're up by 2 points with a couple minutes to go, and on 3rd and long, USC completes a pass, but after the play, it's an errant personal foul, which prolongs the USC drive, and of course they end up kicking the field goal to win. And I like what you said. I don't know how much longer Arizona State fans going to take that. So, anyways, but good win for USC. It was a bounce back game after a loss. So USC I think is on a roll themselves.
Mm-hmm. Well, last week we predicted on the show that Arizona State had the talent to win this game, but we didn't think they would win because didn't think they were consistent enough. And I hate to use that word inconsistent, but that's what they are. Is there another word for inconsistent?
Just use
Not
it.
consistent? I don't know.
Opposite of consistent.
They fall behind 22-7, come back, get their act together. They take the lead, and like Jeremy said, then they allow a blocked extra point to lose the game for them. Because the 2 points they got from the block kick and taking it to the house, later on, USC came back and kicked a field goal. Had they not had that blocked PAT, it would have gone to overtime. So, inconsistency, I hate to keep harping on that, but on the other hand, it's a good win for the Trojans. Trojans would be bowl bound now if they were eligible. Legally, they're not eligible. And if ASU wants to go bowling, they're going to have to win a couple of big games later on down the road, and quite honestly, that's going to be tough.
3 games left.
Yeah.
3 games.
All right, so thanks for checking out Pac-10 Sports Talk. We want to know what your comments are, so leave them. Thanks again, and be sure to check out part 2 with Week 11 predictions.
Or you'll get these in your face.